What's going on, everybody? Welcome. And today, I want to talk about balance, right? How there's always room for balance, and this is why. I was having a conversation earlier with someone, and they were telling me about, how society is, especially in this country, how we're in a place where if you don't agree with something, then you not agreeing can get you in trouble. Be political, social, whatever it is. We live in a time where if you don't agree with something, the very act of disagreeing is seen as being synonymous with you hate something. Okay? And I understood where they were coming from. Okay? But I've also thought about this phenomenon that's going on right now. About how if you ever say you don't agree with something, regardless of what it is, especially in this social media era, the moment you express your disagreement, somebody or someone or a group of people who have an opposing view, they have the ability and they feel as though they have the license to ridicule you and possibly do damage to you in different ways. And the thought that popped in my head was, I've seen this phenomenon before. I've seen it, I've heard about it, I've read about it, this phenomenon before. This isn't new, and what we're dealing with in society now. This isn't new. What I am seeing is my own opinion. What I am seeing is we as a country, as an individual, like we do this as individuals all the time. We may not know it, but we do it all the time, and I'll explain that later. In this country, in this society, in this world, in many cases, we are in the time of overcompensation. All right? Overcompensation. I'll explain what that means. Whatever is no longer acceptable, right? Whatever is no longer acceptable. When we come to the realization that a certain ideal or an action is now seen as unacceptable, and we want to correct it, what we tend to do is, before we find the balance, we will go completely in the opposite direction, 100%. Okay? And anybody that is not on that complete 100% runs the risk of being ridiculed. And like I said, we do this all the time as individuals. And this is what I mean. When you have children, if you're a parent and you have children, or if you desire to have children, and you've lived a life where you believe you didn't have much, you grew up rough, you grew up poor, right? What's one of the main phrases people say when they have children or when they want to have children? If you grew up having nothing, a lot of parents will say this one phrase: when I have children, I'm going to give them everything that I didn't have. Whatever they want, I'm going to get them, because I never want them to feel the way I felt. Now, we say this phrase with good intentions. We mean well when we say it. But in actuality, if you actually were to take that sentence and break that sentence down, we are overcompensating, meaning we believe that the best way to correct the problem of not having anything when we were growing up is that when we have a chance, when we have children, we are going to give them every single thing. That's why we say, and even though we may not fully understand that, when we say when I have children, I'm going to give them everything, that phrase everything is a term of extreme. Okay? Nothing and everything are terms of extremes, meaning there is no wiggle room. There is no in the middle. It's either nothing or everything. It's either one or the other. It's not nothing and everything. It's nothing or everything. So when we say when I have children, I'm going to give my child everything I didn't have, because I never want my child to feel the way I felt. We do it from a genuine good place, right? We mean well when we say it, but what we do is we confuse correcting the mistake by overcompensating. We go the extreme opposite of that, thinking that since we didn't have anything and we didn't enjoy our life, that if we give our child everything, they will be happy. That is a form of overcompensation. Okay? Now, that same phenomena is happening in our society right now. We are in a society right now where we are in the process, we're not complete yet, but we're in the process of correcting all of our mistakes. Nothing wrong with that. We are correcting, we are in the process of trying, I say that, we are in the process of trying to correct all of our mistakes in our country's history and in the world's history. No problem with that. But some of the things that we are trying to correct, we are going the complete opposite. Because when we think about our history, we're not thinking about the times that the particular history happened, what was said, the context, all that stuff. So we go the complete opposite. For example, this is one of the points that were made. We think, well, let's get rid of everything that happened in our country, good, bad, and ugly. Okay? Now, me personally, I don't think we should erase our country's history 100%. Just think, like, because it was harsh, yes, we think that if we erase all of it, that it will benefit us. No. Acting on all of our history or trying to erase all of our history ends up having the same result. Because the objective is to learn and improve. Now, what we can do is understand our history and understand why certain things have a certain place and put certain things, whether it be statues or documents, whatever, in a certain place where we can still view them, but we can learn from them. Where we don't have to, you don't have to celebrate something to acknowledge it. Those aren't the same things. Acknowledging something is not the same as celebrating something, right? Acknowledging that slavery existed in our country is not the same as celebrating. We are acknowledging that it happened. All right, and the statues that were erected, the whole no the Civil War, all that stuff. Acknowledging something does not mean you have to celebrate it. So when people say, people celebrate Civil War and the reinstitution of slavery, no. You acknowledge your history. And in acknowledging, first of all, you acknowledge all your history, good, bad, and ugly. Acknowledge all your history. And once you have acknowledged all of your history, you then put particular parts of history in particular categories. Right? You don't put them together. You acknowledge that this particular part of history was bad. That's not to be celebrated. You acknowledge it. You're not going to get rid of it, but you put it in its proper place to learn from it. And the good that you have done, you put that in its particular place, and you attempt to duplicate that. So right now, we are in the process of overcompensating, where we say, okay, this part of history was bad, get rid of it completely. Get rid of all bad parts of our history. I don't think that's productive. Getting rid of the bad parts of your history does not get rid of your history. It does not negate what happened. The bad parts of your history still exist, and the effects of it still exist. What you do is you acknowledge it and you put the bad parts of history in its proper place. Not getting rid of it, but you're not going to celebrate it either. You're going to compartmentalize. Bad part of history goes here. Good part of history goes here. They do not mingle. In some cases, and there's always a gray area where sometimes the good and bad mix. What you do is, like I said, right now we're on the other end. We're overcompensating for things, and what happens is, eventually, throughout time, we will get to a point. We will get to a happy, well, not a happy medium, but we'll get to the middle ground. We'll get to equilibrium, where you understand the good and the bad. You have both of them in their proper place, and you learn from both. Because you can learn from the bad and the good. You learn from both. You don't replicate the bad. You replicate the good. You say, okay, this bad right here, the bad parts of our history have happened. Let's make sure we don't do that again. Let's make sure we don't go down that road again. And the good things that happen, how can we duplicate it? How can we replicate the best of us? Okay? Right now, I believe we are not at that equilibrium state right now. We are not. Right now, I believe we are at the overcompensating stage in our society, where the equilibrium part will be whether or not I agree with you. My disagreeing with you will not cause you harm. In any kind of way, my disagreeing with you will not do damage to you or anyone else. I just have a simple disagreement. We can still live in harmony. Nature does it. We can live in harmony. We may disagree, but you disagreeing with me will not cause me harm, or me disagreeing with you will not cause you harm. Right now, at this particular point in our society, I don't think we're at that point just yet. We are at the point where if you disagree with me, I'm going to do harm to you. And I don't think it's productive also if everyone agrees with somebody. So if everyone says, yeah, I agree with this, I don't think that's good either. I believe you need a healthy amount of both. To me, you need a healthy amount of both. There are some things that, yes, we all can agree on. I believe there's some things that, yeah, there's some things we can agree on. There's some things that, there's going to be some conflict. Either way, it should not do harm to anyone else. That's the problem. The disagreeing causes harm to others. That shouldn't be. But when you overcompensate one way, you're going to have a problem. When you overcompensate the other way, you're still going to have a problem. Another thing, is if you're making food and you've made too much food. If you made too much food, no one's going to want to eat it because it's too much. If you make too little food, people are going to want more. So what do? You find the right portion of food that can feed everyone and everyone be satisfied with the portion that they got, right? Or if something doesn't have enough season, it's bland. Or if something has too much season, it's just too much. You want to have a balance. Right now, in my opinion, we are not at that point of balance. We're getting there. But right now, we are at the stage of overcompensating. We did so much wrong on this end, and and we think that the way to fix all the wrong is to get rid of all the wrong, is to completely erase all of the wrong that we have done, or the remnants of all the wrong we've done. I think we need to acknowledge the wrong that we've done, acknowledge it, and put it in its proper place. Learn from it. Don't repeat it. Okay? Learn from the mistakes. Don't repeat the mistakes. Don't put the mistakes in with the positive results. Don't mix them. You can learn from both. You acknowledge the good and the bad. You learn from the good and the bad, but you put the good and bad in their proper place. When you do that, that's when you have your equilibrium, because you now know that you can now discern the good from the bad, and you won't just go crazy on one side and crazy on the other side. You will stay in the middle. And when there's always, no matter how much you try, there is always room for balance. You will always have enough space when things are balanced. When things are balanced, and now granted, it's kind of speaking ideally, but there's always room for balance. Always. When things are moving the way they should move in harmony, they will always run smooth. When you have too much of something, it's always going to be an issue. Too much of the other thing is going to be an issue. Balance is key. All right? So there's always room for balance. Just want to drop that on you. All right? Hope you enjoyed my little message. Catch you all later. Peace.